the Ron Murphy today, my dear, dear friend and director of many, many episodes of a show that I love called Dark Matter. He is still, where is he? So I guess we're just going to wait for a little bit. How are you guys all doing? Thanks, Rock Chick. Let's see. How dare you, Mackenzie? We're gonna hang out. Maybe even today. Oh, I'm sorry. That's my outside. How do I make it come back over here? Hello, Texas. I'm so sorry. How do I do this? Did I? Somebody help me, internet. How do I turn it back towards me? Hello, Trinidad. Let's see here. I'm so sorry, everyone. Joe, I don't know where Ron is, if he's in here yet. Oh, I found it. Okay, sorry. I'm so sorry. Joe declined me. Okay, well, I don't know how many of you watched our last episode together. We were watching episode 213. There's so many buttons to press. I'm sorry, guys. I don't really know what I'm doing. On Twitter, double tap the screen. Is it still facing the other way? Oh, it is real. That's so cool. I am trying, Joe. I'm trying to be on with Ron, but I don't think he's here yet. I invited him already. Well, in the meantime, you guys can start asking questions if you like. Who's saying no? Why is, I think there's a bit of a delay. You are way behind on comments. Yeah, I can tell. There's definitely a bit of a lag going on. I think I'm not totally on Wi-Fi. Hello, Argentina. If Ron doesn't jump on in 5, I'll join. Okay, great. So if Ron Murphy doesn't join on in a second, then we will have Joe Melosi. Oh. I'm so sorry. Why isn't this working? Here. Oh, Ron. Ron's here. Yay! Oh, there we go. Okay, finally. You almost had an understudy come on, Ron.
Oh my God.
I know.
So easy to replace. It's terrible.
No, not true. How dare you? Don't even start with me. Ron, that was incredible work. It was so nice watching your work again. I feel like I could feel the different parts where you added pieces of you, and I loved it. It was so great. I really like that moment where we I tweeted about it, but where we flash back to 3 lying on the ground bloody, just as Holden Reed is like, Ferris Court delegation is magnificent and we love them so much. And I just thought that was a beautiful tie-in. Yeah. How was that, watching it back for you? What was that like?
It was wild. I was completely into it. First of all, it's only my second time tweeting ever, so I have no clue what I'm doing. And I get too caught in the plot. So I tweeted, I'm too into the plot to tweet as an excuse for my lameness.
Oh. Yeah,
you were great. You were great in it. There was some great guest stars too. Kyle was amazing.
The guest stars are amazing. All of our, the head of the Nikkei delegation, the head of the Ferris Corporation, our android. We got to see Holden Reed. We got to see Jeff. Yeah, it was really great. And I forget that Joe is so great about that when it comes to the beginning of the season or the end of the season. There's always a beautiful way of kind of wrapping things together and bringing in all those faces and teasing people to get ready for the next season. So I
want to watch the episode. You know how Netflix just plays the next episode and starts playing episode 1 from season 3. I'm like, all right, I guess I have to watch this. Oh wait, there's Instagram. And
you did that one too. You also directed that one.
It was nice because it felt like a two-part movie. Yeah. I'm blown away always by the visual effects. I get such a kick out of it because, on the day you guys are all staring at nothing. You're just standing at the table going, so there's a thing there. And we take such care to get the eye lines right. It's going to be right here. I swear it's going to be right here. Mm-hmm. And then, it's we just kind of, we rough it in. And then these geniuses come and make these gorgeous visual effects. Everything. That shot of him getting blown out. Oh, the cut on the thing he's holding. You know why he's holding it? Can I just tell you why he's holding it, though? He's holding it at first to conceal it. It's a story point.
So he's not exposing himself.
As an android. And then once he knows he shouldn't hold it anymore, but visual effects are expensive, so we're just going to hold it for the scene.
How dare you call out dark matter in their budget? How dare you?
Come on.
We have lots of money to burn. Money to burn.
Not true, but we did a lot. We were very creative with, very small. That saved thousands. Every time you cut to a visual effect, it's money just pouring. So I was like, Kyle, just keep covering it, because otherwise the whole scene you have to do the visual effect of it healing itself and all that whole thing. Yeah. That's a nice little detail. There's a lot of hearts coming, which means some people are appreciating.
People are just they're just loving on it.
I'm wondering if Joseph hates me for giving these secrets away. Should I pretend, Joseph, we had $20 million for this episode?
20 million? Ron, saver of the money.
Sometimes this business is so less creative than we think. It's just how do we get through this without blowing the budget? Because, it's such an expensive show. And, there's shows in this space, in this genre that have at least 5 times what we had on this show. I would say The Expanse would be one that's way up there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to quote, but I know that there's some shows that are just mind-blowing, the budgets. And we had a decent budget. I mean, it wasn't, but we had to be careful about certain things for sure.
Well, we made it look expensive. And it didn't matter at the end of the day because the stories were just next level and fantastic.
Yeah. I love the script.
For anybody, I did this with Mel yesterday, and I really want to do it with you because you are really, truly, you are an exceptional person on top of being an incredible talent. But it's hard to kind of put in a nutshell, I'm such a great human because of this. But what we can do in short form is give people a quick rundown of your very impressive resume. So can you pick your top 5 projects that you're this is my top 5 of things that I've worked on that I'm super proud of. That you think back on and that kind of make you smile.
Well, they're all the most recent things I've done. Dark Matter, Lost Girl, Winona Earp, and then 2 comedies, Trailer Park Boys for all the potheads in the room. And The Jan Show, which is actually not in the U.S. yet, but it will eventually be on Netflix and worldwide and in the U.S. But it's a Canadian show, just a little, and it's a singer named Jan Arden who's brilliant and funny. And Trailer Park Boys has been on for, there was 12 seasons of that. I did the last 5 for Netflix, and that was really fun. And then Dark Matter was an absolute highlight. I mean, it's just incredible experience. And sometimes, in this business, it's hard to separate the experience from the show itself. Because, even if a show's
Totally.
great, if a show's great and you have such a stressful time shooting it, or the people, there's weird politics or whatever, sometimes you have a hard time separating that feeling as a crew person like myself, or I imagine as a cast person like you, the feeling of it from the experience of making it. But the feeling of this, like when I watch it, I have all these great memories of being on set, working with amazing people, laughing all the time, not feeling any stress because there was, besides Joseph, the producers on this show were incredibly supportive. Jay and the British guy, oh God. Norman was brilliant with the money because he had a full second unit going the whole time, which means we got 7 days of shooting on main unit, and then I would have a second unit to go out and do scenes like, there might be a whole fight sequence that we shoot. We spend a whole day on it because it's complex. Do you remember that? And it never felt like a little second unit, like a par down. It was like a full crew. Yeah, and I haven't had that. That's first class. Like I haven't had that on a show in a long time. That's the way that Joseph and Jay and Norman structured it that way, with the schedule and the money was incredible, and it gave us a lot of time. Time is often the thing that makes a big difference on these shows. Like it's time to be creative, time not just to execute it in a basic way, but to do extraordinary work. You need time. You need to kind of go through it, and it's so collaborative. And we all talk when we're blocking a scene. We all talk, and I remember. I remember the first day I worked with you, I was slightly terrified of you.
Why?
Oh yeah, and we should probably tell the story of how we met too.
We could do that. I mean, I would love to. I was going through old pictures, Ron, trying to find cool pictures of us, and I was just like reflecting on our friendship. And I came across pictures of when we went to Mexico to go build that house. Like,
charity work.
Yeah, like it's kind of crazy when I think about the time we've spent together, not only at work, but like outside of work. And I just I love you. Like, I love you too.
It's one of the best dividends of doing this work.
Yeah.
Is friendships that I'm still friends. It's COVID. I don't see them all the time, people. Yeah. But I used to get together on a pretty regular basis with both of them. Certainly with you. I mean, you were my neighbor for a long time before you moved to Los Angeles. It's one of my favorite parts of this business. Like, even if you don't work together again, you do keep people. There's people you keep. And you can keep everyone if you could. Or let's say, 90%.
That's a bit generous, but
90. You can't. You know that Malcolm Gladwell, I used to feel guilty about not keeping touch with everyone because I love them all. Like, we have so many great people we work with. And I think it was Malcolm Gladwell said in Blink that our brains can only really care for about 15 people. Like, really care. Like birthdays and like all the details of their life and the kids' names and everything, and beyond 15 people, because we're tribal, like that's for thousands of years we've evolved like this. Then beyond that is you have a larger kind of acquaintance circle, and you don't know as many details about their life, and you still care about them. And I think that's up to 150. And then beyond that, we just don't give a shit.
I like that.
Well, it lets you off the hook.
And it allows you to focus in. If you understand the capacity of your mind, then you're not constantly fighting it or like criticizing yourself for not having the capacity for more. If you understand that from a physiological perspective, you really only have the capacity to really care about 15 and then like a little bit of caring for 100, then you're not just like, oh no, why don't I care about everyone?
I know.
Oh, hey, check it out. I wore that shirt for you.
I can't. Like it's backwards, so I can't read it. What does it say?
It says compassion.
Oh, that's
Is it backwards?
It's my mantra. It's backward. I don't know why it's backwards, but it's my mantra.
Oh,
one of my Buddhist mantras. Even though I'm not officially a Buddhist, but I love the Buddhist, and I do meditate, so that helps.
Okay, well, wait. Let's rest on that for a second, because there have been a lot of people who have been reaching out asking about meditation techniques, especially with everything that's been happening. So if someone is a new meditator and they wanted to have an introductory practice, maybe turn your speaker down a little bit. I can feel me. I think I'm echoing back into the phone.
Oh, sorry. You know what?
Okay.
I'm going to put my headset on. One
Okay,
second.
yeah, you put your headset on. And while you're doing that, think about what's a nice introductory meditation practice that's accessible in the event that someone's not a Buddhist, because you don't have to be a part of any religious affiliation in order to meditate. It's a very accessible practice. Do you have any like tips or advice or recommendations? Am I the one that's lagging? Is it me or is it Ron? Hi, France. I'm sorry if I'm talking over Ron. I can't tell if he's the one that's frozen or if it's me. Okay, thank you, Chenford. Oh, he's gone. Oh, okay. Ron's asking to come back. Okay, hold on. We're going to get him back. He had to think for a second. He had to think for a second. Oh, you can see my t-shirt from Latra. It's called Ladder up in Toronto.
Okay,
you're back. You're back.
I have these amazing technology here.
Important person earrings.
Yeah. My ex-girlfriend actually bought these for me, and she always tried to steal them back because I never used them.
They're so useful.
They're so useful, except that I'm long-winded, and the batteries tend to die before I do.
Oh, bless you.
Okay, we were talking about meditation. Do people... Yes. Hold on, there's a whole bunch of questions. I get a bit overwhelmed by these questions. Do you want to answer some of these questions first from the...
Yeah, which ones? Do you see one that you...
France. Hello, France. Someone's saying Ron. People are just saying Ron. Hi, Ron. He's a goner. Oh, that's because I just jumped off. He's frozen. Yeah. Ron froze. There's a lot of frozen references.
Okay, here. We'll do it like this for a second. So, guys, Ron Murphy, incredible human being, Trailer Park Boys, Lost Girl, Dark Matter, Winona Earp. If you're a big fan of sci-fi, those are some of the projects that he's worked on and loved. So while he's talking a little bit about meditation, if you have any questions about any of those jobs, or just for Ron in general, because he's just amazing, why don't you guys take some time to think about that? Put them in, and we'll scroll back after Ron is done talking about this little topic. How's that?
Tattoos. Oh my God. You're amazing. You should,
don't get lost in the comments. Everyone's just like, I love you.
No, they're not. Some of them are, what was the most expensive episode to produce? I don't know. I'm not a producer. I'm a director. What would you have liked Dark Matter to end? Or how would you like, oh God, I'm going to leave that to Joseph. Is Joseph, welcome back, Ron. Hello. What's the best question? Where's Joseph? Is he here? By the way, can I just tell you what Joseph said? I'm sorry. I'm very focused, but I'm just going to tell you what Joseph said. We're going to come back. We've got a bunch of narratives going. There's an A plot, a B plot, a C plot. Joseph said that the Joseph Walazzi, the actual creator genius of this show, Dark Matter, who we love, he actually said that there was a talk that you did with Melody. I think it was yesterday, and he said it was brilliant. And so good luck out there, Ron. And I wasn't feeling nervous or, I was just feeling, I'm going to meet my old friend online and we're going to have a chat with all our amazing fans. And then Joseph put that in my head. And now I feel like this.
You've got some good questions coming in, Ron.
Oh, okay. What are they? Can you
so Ron thoughts, what are your thoughts on getting a film degree to become a director? And also, do you have any tips for an aspiring TV writer?
Oh my God, that's such a good question. Okay, First part is film school. So I wanted to go to NYU or AFI, and I live in Toronto, Canada, and our dollar was very low. And the foreign student fees, plus living in New York City or LA, was like $60,000 a year. So I couldn't afford to go. So what I did is I got an undergraduate degree in film here in Canada, and the tuition was super cheap and whatever. And then I got the the reading lists from the top film schools in the world, USC, AFI, and NYU. And then I got the books and I read all the books. And you can do that. You can read the books. You can afford the books.
Yes, right.
That's how you do it. But film school was great for one thing in particular. Like what I did at my undergrad was aesthetics and history and world cinema, and there was no production. So I begged one of my profs to do a short film instead of writing these long-winded essays, which I hated. And he let me. So I made a short film on that time because it was 1902. I did a Super 8 film, and I handed it in, and I got an A. And then, of course, everyone wanted to make films. But what I loved about film school most was, watching movies and analyzing movies and the conversations, everything, but it was the sense of community. So I would say film school is great for community and connections, but if you can't afford to go, buy the books. And the best thing you can do in this business is offer yourself in selfless service, which is actually a Buddhist principle. Selfless service, you just give of yourself with no expectation of anything in return. And you go with enthusiasm to gain knowledge and experience and friendship. And you go and volunteer on other people's short films. At whatever school is in your neighborhood that has a film program, volunteer and just give of yourself. And believe me, you'll learn so much just by being on set. I learned more on day one of being on my own set, a short film that I was making, than my 4 years in film school. Like, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I stood on set, literally, and the actors taught me so much because they all seemed to know about 100 times more than me. And it was a thing I wrote, and I was directing, and I literally was standing there, and the crew's all there, and the cameras. I'm like, okay. And one of the actors looks at me and goes, "So where do you want us to enter?" And I was like, "Oh," like I hadn't even thought about it. I was like, I saw a door, and I was like, over there. And I was just making it up. And so my point is, I knew nothing. And the only way to get experience is by doing it and failing. And failing with courage, I guess.
Failing with courage, not being afraid to fail. Yeah.
Yeah. And in my case, delusion, self-delusion was an amazing sort of aspect because you start kind of like believing you can do it. And then there's like a momentum to that. Like people, people always think gossip's bad. Gossip can be good too. There's good gossip. They gossip about you. Like they'll say, "Melissa, this young actress, she's amazing. She's a great actress." And then suddenly people want to meet you and audition you and put you in their projects. And same with me. I did a few shorts and then people said, "Oh, this young gangly director, Ron Murphy, and if you're committed to it, like you keep, but you know what I'm saying? Like they gossip about you. It's good gossip. They say, "Oh, so-and-so is making a short." And then people go, "Really? Holy crap." And that's when about 4 people in the world were making a short, like everyone's making a short today. I have to say it's more competitive today because look at what I'm holding in my hand. Like I had to go out and rent a movie camera. In fact, there's the movie camera I rented right there. It's called an Aeroflex BL. And it was the thing I made my first short film on, and it's a 16 millimeter camera, and it cost $500 a day to rent that bloody thing, and then you had to fill it with film, and then this thing here, the magazine was filled with a can of film, which was about 10 minutes of film, and it cost $140 for the can of film. Then you had to develop it, which was another $140. You're at $280. Then you had to get the negative and cut it. I mean, it was just an insane process. It's actually insane what we used to do. But that's how I made my first short film, and that's why it's in my living room, because it basically, that thing started my whole career. And I'm a sentimental kind of person.
Yeah.
But basically, it's a long answer to your question. I could go on for 3 hours about the directing aspect and how to do it. But definitely build community and give of yourself. And commitment and belief is a huge thing. And then as a writer, I mean, my God, the hardest thing to do is to get anyone to watch your short film or to read your script as a starting out writer. Joseph would have way more advice on that. I know I've written a few things, and it's so hard to get people to read your stuff, but you just got to keep making it. You got to have an inner circle of a few people that you trust that will tell you the truth. Like the problem with this business is we're all sensitive people and nobody wants to tell anyone the truth because you don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. It's like, "Oh, your script really sucks, great. Ron." It was great. And they'll tell you, it's good. Like, I don't need to hear anything else. When I hear that tone, like, when I hear that, Yeah, I know that it sucks, but I don't. I know on some level. I know, when I was starting out, I knew that everything I did was just so. So I wanted to know why, and so I could not repeat the same mistake. So I had a few people that were super honest. My first mentors, I gave him a script, like let's say it was a 20-minute script for a short, and got on the phone with me. And this is a pro screenwriter. He actually wrote Howard Stern's Private Parts. Okay, like amazing person who I met through John Candy, who I actually was John's assistant for his last few films. And so I was looking for a mentor. I was looking for a mentor, and I sheepishly asked the screenwriter if he'd read my script. He got on the phone with me and he said, "Boy, these people sure do talk a lot." And it was like, oh, fuck. It was the most devastating and most beautiful moment because I realized dialogue can't just be blah, blah, blah. It's got to move plot and story forward and reveal character, and it's got to be very sparse. And, so all you can hope for is to have a few people in your life that tell you the truth like that when you're starting out as a writer or as a director, that people don't, like most people will bullshit you because they just don't want to deal with, hurting your feelings and everything. And also a lot of people don't know what they're talking about. They just go, yeah, no, it seems great. But you get someone who's a committed artist who will say, like I'm sure you would tell me, you would be like, Ron, this is a piece of shit. Like you can do way better.
I don't think I would, mainly because I do feel that I'm a bit of a silver lining person when it comes to particular people. And with you, I know for sure, no matter like how deep into the pit that we decide to investigate and explore and look at, I'm always like, but skibbity dee. And honestly, you could probably like poop in a paper bag and put it on film, and I'd be like, I totally get it. You're like commenting on the state of the world. It's
art. It's art. I love this episode actually that we were in lockdown in the episode at the end. Like we're all locking things down. I'm like, I can relate to that more than ever. So get another question because people want to hear from you. You're the star of the show. You're number one. People.
Wait. There was one other question that I thought was really useful, and I do want to hear your thoughts on it. And as an artist with your own perspective, and being a director is about being a leader and having your own vision and collaborating. So when you get a script, how somebody asked, do you really stick to the script? Like how much do you veer from it? If you do.
It depends on the show. I mean, some shows, it's about your trust with the showrunner. So, for example, Joseph, I had to earn his trust, season 1. He didn't know me from Adam, and, he probably felt stuck with me. It's like, who's this guy? Because, like, he came from Vancouver to Toronto, and so he had his team out there on Stargate. And you know how it is, like you want to work with people you love and trust, and then suddenly you have to work with these new people because you're in a new jurisdiction and you got to hire them for tax credits or whatever nonsense. So I know that going in on a show, you got to earn people's trust, and you just do that by by respecting the material and do a lot more listening than talking. And in this case, like on Dark Matter, like the scripts were so tight. We just shot the script. I mean, do you remember improvising? I don't think like there might be like the
was completely unnecessary for 2. Not at all needed because they just gave her everything anyways.
Yeah, so I think it depends on the show is the answer to that question. Like on Trailer Park Boys or on a comedy in general, the scripts are still tight. And there's an interesting link between genre like comedy and sci-fi, by the way, which is interesting. I work in both. I think they're very linked. They're both outsider culture, big picture, sort of looking at humanity from a very unique perspective, which I love. And but when it comes to Dark Matter, we stuck to the script. I would say 99.9%. Whereas Trailer Park Boys, like if a joke doesn't work, we'd say this is not working. So and then the guys would work it. And they would work it right on set, and they would improvise, and the performers would, best joke wins because if everyone's laughing, it's not like we're not going to put it in the show. Mm-hmm. So comedy's a bit looser. Sci-fi's a little more, certainly on this show, very plot-driven, and there's a finesse to the scripts that's very measured. And so I come in, with a great deal of respect for a great script. Mm-hmm. I'm a writer as well. I've never made a living as a writer, but as a mini writer, I have a lot of respect for writers, like enormous. I mean, they create worlds from nothing. I mean, the rest of us we're all parasites on the writer, if you think about it. Like the writer sits there. The writer is like a god.
Creates this from their mind.
Yeah, they face the void. I mean, what's more terrifying than the void? The void is death. We're on the void now in the fucking lockdown. Like, what are we doing? I'm in the void. There's nothing. You know, and then writers face it every day just with like, you know, a shrug and a coffee, and they just sit there and Joseph is fucking brilliant because that guy can read a book in a day. Like, he reads so many books. He's got so much story in that brain. I don't know how it all fits in there. And then he just like plows through scripts and just like such a hard worker, and then so much experience. Like, it's people think like everyone thinks they can write a script because they know the alphabet and they can work a pen. It's like, it's so hard to do it again and again. And that's how you create, like, you get mastery by doing it again and again and again and again. Yeah. And that's what people miss. Like, yeah, you could, you know, most people could write one script. Not that it would be any good.
I think most people couldn't write one script. And we talked about this yesterday. Having the discipline to, like, sit and execute is a whole other form of mastery that like is really difficult to access, I think, for a lot of people to really just like sit there and see things through to completion. Yeah.
Hey, what did you and Mel talk about yesterday that was so great? Okay, let's hear it. I'm not surprised at all. I'm just curious.
What did Mel and I talk about? We talked about her a lot because I just love her and I miss her. And I think the reason why maybe Joe and other people found it just like so great was because, you know, we get to look at Mel and smile and giggle, and I'm like making her laugh. And who doesn't like to like watch a pretty girl laugh? Like,
you guys are both gorgeous. So there's two gorgeous women, and then this schmuck. Okay, I get it. And then also you're.
Oh my God, my brother's here. What up,
hi, brother? Hold on, is Joseph here? Like, can you tell if Joseph is here?
Sure. Okay, so he's here and he's in the comments, and he said the last thing he said was, "I feel guilty now for not getting anything done in quarantine." No guilt about not getting anything done in quarantine. Everyone is being pushed into this space of rest and rejuvenation and renewal. And I think it's important to take that time. No guilt.
Yes. Agreed.
Mainly because you're so magnificent and so productive outside of it. You deserve the rest. It might not be in, you know, for you, Joe, in Tokyo, but it's at home with your dog, Cammy. So you should enjoy it. Let's
more questions. Australia? What? Oh my God!
There's
Australia
and
Greece.
People here. Mm-hmm.
Oh my God! Greece is here. Australia's here. Oh, I love these guys.
Oh, okay. What else should we talk about?
Ron, are you stalking Zoe? What? Why would I say Zoe's a friend? I work with her on.
Ron, okay, we need to teach you how to Instagram. If there's something that is shocking and you don't want to respond to, you can't read it out loud. But you just have to let it scroll by.
No, but it's not. I mean, I don't take these are hilarious questions. I work with Zoe. Oh, they're making a joke because I worked with her on Lost Girl. Then I worked with her on Dark Matter. And now I'm working with her on Jan.
Who
so yes, I'm stalking
Zoe?
her. I am stalking. I'm stalking. I love Zoe. She's great. There's she was asking who is lagging. I'm really behind on these questions. I have to look up the list.
Scroll all the way down to the bottom, and you'll see people that are. Oh, Poland is here. That is so cool. Ron, what's your favorite place that you've traveled to?
Oh my gosh, Costa Rica, Cambodia.
Yeah. Cambodia. And, what was Cambodia like?
Amazing. I love Cambodia, but I wasn't there long enough to. India is probably my favorite place in the world because it's so crazy and so beautiful and so complex, and it's impossible to describe. No matter how much you read about it or talk about it or look at pictures, you get there and it's like holy shit because it's just like overwhelming. Like especially if you're in a city like New Delhi or Mumbai or it was just so beautiful and wild and chaotic. Ron, thoughts about getting a degree to be a director? Okay, I got that. Can we get Mel and Joe Dell on Winona Earp, please? Oh, would you come on Winona Earp? That's not up to me, but would you? Yes. You're on another show, though.
I'm very open to work.
We have a guy named Sean Lawrence here. How much would it cost to start Dark Matter again? I'm assuming he's a multimillionaire, and we should just name a price. Like, well, let's have 10 million from Sean Lawrence.
How much you got,
make
Sean?
the movie.
How much you got?
Because Joseph could whip up a script in no time, and then we'll just shoot the movie to finish this out. I would love that. Is there any millionaires following this who can help us out?
Yeah, I know, right?
It should never have ended. Any tips
I like this
for
question.
aspiring?
Did you guys like Mexican food when you were here? We didn't really get to explore Mexico when we were there. We were only there for the weekend, really. Wasn't that right? We were only there for the weekend, and we put up 4 walls and a roof, and then we got out of there. Yeah,
3 days. We built 2 houses, and then we moved on. Yeah. Joe.
Yeah.
Joe is here. It's your favorite scene in Dark Matter? Oh my God. How do you slow heart rate with meditation? Oh my God, I'm not that advanced. I mean, breathing deep. Did we cover meditation, or
we did not? Because you got totally caught up in the comments. I thought you didn't want to engage, which is fine.
No, I did. I'm fine. It's just that, the simplest thing in the world, everyone thinks meditation's a big deal, and that a lot of people have said to me again and again, I can't meditate because my mind moves too fast. It's like everyone's mind moves too fast. That's the whole point, is that when you're meditating, you're not stopping your mind from doing what it's doing. You're watching your mind. So you're actually just sitting there and breathing slowly. Take a really deep breath, hold it for 5 seconds, let it out. Another deep breath, hold it for 5 seconds, let it out. Another one. By the third one, you've triggered the relaxation response in your body, and you're starting to meditate right there. If you want to do a mantra, take a word like compassion. There's sound mantras, there's word mantras, but just take a simple mantra like compassion and just repeat it. And you repeat it, and you say compassion, compassion, compassion. And then you go, fuck, this is boring. And you're like, oh, that's a thought. Oh shit, I'm meditating. Okay, compassion, compassion, compassion. And then you keep repeating it, and it's kind of like at different speeds and then you forget that you're meditating. You have a thought, you follow that thought, like when you're 12 years old and that kid picked on you at school, and you start getting stressed out and your heart rate picks up. You're still meditating, and then you slowly remember, oh shit, I'm meditating. And then you gently come back to the mantra. The mantra grounds your thinking. So that's the whole point of it. It's very simple. You could sit right now, or when this ends, you just sit and breathe, and it's boring, doesn't matter. It has huge benefits. It's not boring because you're going inside and you're watching your mind. What's more interesting than that? You start realizing, oh my God, every thought I have is a physiological response. Like there's actually some stress in my body from that thought, and that person, thinking about that person stresses me out, or thinking about that shit time in my life, like when I was stuck in COVID by myself in a house for months. And you remember it and you go, oh my God, thank God we're out of that. And we survived it, and it was no big deal. But, you will have a physiological response to every thought, and you start noticing that then you are not your thoughts is the really big leap. And then you start kind of becoming amused by your thoughts. When your most ridiculous thoughts and your darkest thoughts, suddenly you don't identify with them anymore.
Yes.
And then you start transcending the rat monkey brain that's just going around and around and around. And then you start getting into a more peaceful zone, because with that detachment from those crazy thoughts, you start kind of, what's interesting is writers kind of meditate.
Someone called you Jedi Master Ron Murphy. Accurate. Go on. You were sorry. You were talking about writers and meditators.
You know who's a real Jedi Master that I met in Los Angeles? Is Sadhguru. Sadhguru is the most incredible human. I mean, I've met many incredible humans, but he's incredible. If you've ever, check him out online. That guy.
Well, so what is it about him that you feel is so incredible?
I met him in Los Angeles. I was invited to this very wealthy person's home where they had a private audience with this guy named Sadhguru. This was 10 years ago.
Golden ladder, Ron. A golden ladder.
No, more like Forrest Gump. I end up in these situations where I don't belong. But here I am. And I go to this little private talk. It was let's say 20, 25 people there. And we sat in this person's living room, and I sat right up front, all eager. And Sadhguru, this wild guru from India, gave this talk. And what he was doing, because it was all rich people except me, he was giving them shit for their materialism. And he was going, isn't it interesting that no matter how much you get, you want more? And you just increase, and it's never satisfying. And you never, and he was basically for 3 hours giving them shit for being materialistic, and not having any perspective, and sort of buying into this ridiculous culture that we're all part of consumerism. So it was fascinating. And afterwards, there was a dinner, and I went up to him, and I got to ask him a couple of questions, and my most earnest question was, Sadhguru, what is laughter? And
you asked that?
Yeah, because
I love you.
I had once asked John Candy years ago, and some of you are too young to know who John Candy was. He played Uncle Buck in a movie 25, 30 years ago.
Melanie's here. Say hi to
Hi, Melanie. We love you. Oh, my God. Another beautiful human. So I asked John Candy the same question. I said, John, what is laughter? And I was his assistant, okay? Like, we're sitting in the back of a limo, and there's a moment of silence, and I use this to, let's find out. Let's learn some shit from a comic master. And he said, well, he's very thoughtful. It took a minute. He goes, well, in a world of conflict where people disagree, when there's an audience of people sitting together laughing in a theater, for that one moment they agree. And so I think laughter is agreement. And so I was curious, what does this Sadhguru master think laughter is? And of course, he went on and gave this really complex definition of, laughter can be insane. It can be a side of insanity or neurosis. It can be joy or happiness or ecstasy. It can be insight. He just went on and on and on. It was beautiful.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm going to continue asking that question. What's laughter to you?
To me?
Yeah.
Oh, man. I think that it's when energy within me bubbles up to the point where it's it escapes containment. Whether or not that's nervous laughter. There are times where I am peak sadness. I think about this moment where, and it's fine now and it's a longer story, but there was a very big thing happening in my family that I was not invited to, and it cracked my heart. And I was doing that thing where I was talking to my little brother who's here, and he'll remember this. And at first I was like, I am so happy for him. That's really great. And I started laughing because I couldn't contain the sadness inside of myself. And it was bubbling up because I was also trying to manage it. So for me, laughter shows up in so many different facets. I mean, I'm constantly explosively laughing, but I think it's when any kind of energy starts to bubble up and escape internally, right. Because it is kind of it's like a mini explosion. And I think it's part of why when people try to act laughing and fake laughing, there are a lot of people that are bad at it because you can't fake that very well. It's so organic and out of our control a lot of the time.
Yeah. Agreed.
What about to you?
Well,
what is laughter to Ron Murphy? What is laughter?
I think it's connection. I just love when you laugh with somebody, you really feel connection to them. You feel like you get each other, and you feel it feels like a bit of love. It actually feels like a burst of love, especially when you laugh together. When you hypothetically take magic mushrooms and start laughing together, or you
hypothetically.
By the way, Joseph here just asked the question. He said, "What was your most difficult scene to shoot?" And for me, the most difficult scene to shoot, it wasn't for technical reasons. It was because my father passed away on a weekend. Do you remember that? And then I had to come in and shoot because the show must go on. And I remember coming in, and there was this scene, and it was just a straight up dialogue scene, but it was with a big group. And I remember everyone was kind of discussing what should happen, and there was some disagreement in the cast, and I didn't have the mental capacity to deal with it, which has never happened to me in my career. I just couldn't, because I just come away. It was on a Sunday he passed, and then this was a Monday or a Tuesday, and I was shooting. And that was the most difficult scene to shoot. Every other scene was I don't have any memory of difficulty. I have memory of fun and collaboration. It was all.
I have one for you.
Okay.
that I think was difficult, and we actually talked about it yesterday because we rewatched that episode with Mel, and as we started talking, you know, people were asking questions about the scene where we kissed, and I brought up what a stink I made that day, and I think back to it, Ron, and when I watched it, you were right, and I said yesterday on the live, I was like, Ron was right, I looked dead, and it didn't work, and you told me on the day, and I was so adamant and like bullheaded about the fact that I was like, I'm not kissing her. We're not going to make some like faux lesbian thing out of this. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I didn't feel it was called for in that moment, you know, but you were right. And when I watched it later, I regret not having trusted you as a director in that moment and just giving in. Like I was stubborn that day. So when someone asks like what was difficult and it's us, I'm like, I think of that day.
So I don't recall that being difficult. I just, because we have thousands of those conversations.
Yeah.
And I haven't recently watched that scene, so I can't recall like whether it worked or didn't. But you know, it was funny. The first day we worked together, so we met. There was a theater award show here in Toronto, and I was there with a buddy of mine. It was outdoors. It was down at the harbor front, and there was this giant theater. There was like thousands of people. There was a stage, and it was like awards for theater. And I guess had you done Les Mis or something? You sang and lead, and you were winning an award, right, for that or for something else? Okay, so
for
you got up on
for Eponine.
Yeah, so I'd never seen you before, and suddenly you're up on stage. The camera's on you. You're on a huge screen, and I'm looking at you, going, "Oh my God." Who is this woman? She's so beautiful and charismatic, and your voice was so grounded, and you were so confident, and you were just like kind of incredible. Like you were. Like I remember, and my buddy was here visiting from LA, and he thought so too. I go, that woman's incredible. And then after the show, you came walking through the crowd, and you walked right by us. So I said, "Hey, I'm Ron," and no, stop. I don't. Let me tell the story, please.
Okay.
Don't confuse it.
I'm not gonna go there.
Okay.
But, okay.
So there was a misunderstanding, but regardless, I said very sincerely, I said, listen, you need to have your own TV show. Was basically what I said. I said I work in TV, and you need to have your own show. I said that, and literally that's it. I didn't ask for a number. There's nothing creepy about it, okay?
No. There was nothing weird about it. Nobody should know what
I was blown away. You were with a friend. You were walking.
You were very sincere and earnest. I was very kind. Yeah.
As a director, I auditioned thousands of people over my career, and you learn to read people very quickly. You get a feel for when people have that thing that I call it. I mean, a friend of mine's father calls it the royal jelly. It's like because charisma is so impossible to sort of describe.
Honey,
and so you got the royal jelly. So it's like there's a person, and I just asked. I said, "Have you done any film or television?" You're like, "No, but I'd like to." And I said, "Well, you should. You need to get your agent to audition for stuff and in film and television. You need your own show. In fact, that was my instinct." And then cut to a year later. I get this job on this new show called Dark Matter, and I walk on set, and who's the frickin' star of the show? This person right there.
I'm on my first television job, and this guy shows up, and I'm like, I know you.
And like the weird synchronicity of that, it doesn't stop there, folks.
No.
Then you're not going to believe this. So I show up on set, and I see her, and I'm like, oh my God, like you're the person I said you should have your show, and you have your show now. And now I'm working with you on that show. Holy shit. So I did my first scene with you, and it was like a nothing little scene, some dialogue, walking along the thing. And I had an idea like, hey, I think you'd come around the corner here. And you're like, no, I don't think I'd come around that corner. And I was like, okay. Just come from wherever you want. I was slightly terrified of you.
How dare you call me out on the internet?
No, I love it. You had an opinion. You had a creative opinion. Like, this is the truth of collaboration.
Rounding a corner.
Directors.
That's the crazy thing.
No, I'm not coming around that corner. I would come around that corner over there, not that one. But no, but whatever it was, it was something like that. It was a good choice. You made whatever the choice. There's my choice, there's your choice. It doesn't, in the end, if it honors the script, it's the right choice. There's no right and wrong. It's a collaboration. It honored the script. But I remember being slightly terrified because you were very confident. And which I like.
It was a part of the character. Like, I look back and I'm like, I'm kind of terrified of myself. She's got 3-inch heels. She's wearing all black leather. She's got holsters. She's got guns. You walk a certain way. You talk a certain way. It's hard to take off that skin. Like, I remember after every season, I had to dye my hair a lighter color because you're just living in darkness. And we shot the show always indoors and always over the Christmas season. So it was like you get there in the morning when it's dark, you leave at 6 and it's dark. It was a lot. It was so much fun, but
Joseph,
it's hard to take off that skin.
Joseph just said to me, he goes, I could never remember your name during the show, most of the show. I always referred to you as the gangly one about me. Thanks, Joseph.
That comment is so old, Ron. You got to scroll.
Oh, God. That's how far back I am.
Yeah.
Okay. What other film directors have influenced you, Ron? Okay. I don't want this... this is about you and about Dark Matter. But I wanted just this last little anecdote about the weird synchronicity of how we met, because it is weird.
Yeah, so let's talk about us.
But there was just one other, because we met, then, like I said, you need your own show, and then a year later, suddenly you had your own show. I mean, what are the odds, okay?
Yeah.
And then I found out where you lived, and I was dating a nurse at the time.
Oh, yeah.
Who... You were living not only one block from my home, but you were living in a house owned by a friend of mine who was a landlord. It had 3 stories. He lived on the top. This one you're talking to here lived on the 2nd floor. And my nurse girlfriend lived in the basement. Oh, yeah, that day when you showed up, I was like, Ron, what are you doing here? This is a city of 7 million people, okay? So Melissa and I were meant in some weird way to meet and to be connected. And anyway, that's the end of my, hippie story about how we met.
I have a hippier story about us.
Okay.
My hippier story is that I was, after a particularly difficult time in my life, I decided to piss off to Thailand for a month. And while I was there, I'm trying to edit parts of this story in my head live. I'm so sorry. I'm like the Android. I'm like processing.
Oh my God.
And I have a smoothie. While I'm in Thailand. And later that night, I'm thinking to myself, I get Ron. Ron's face is coming to me. Coming to my third eye, if you will. It's like there's a telephone call and Ron is showing up, just his head, like a floating head coming to my mind. And I text him and I say, Ron, I'm thinking about you. And it must be it's 3 a.m. for me in Thailand. And it's the middle of the day in Toronto. And he texts me back right away. And he goes, this is so crazy. I was just thinking about you. I wish you were in Toronto. My friend is here. I wish we could all hang out in the living room and hang out. And I say, let's FaceTime. And he goes, yes, I've got a flower in my hair. I'm totally ready. And we open up the call and he's there with his dear friend. Remind me of his name. Krishna Prem. And we had the most glorious conversation.
Who's a 75-year-old monk.
Who wrote Guru, Guru.
And he has a new book called Aloneness, A Love Story, which I think everyone should read for the COVID. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's actually an Osho guy. Did you guys see Wild Wild Country? He was actually there, and he got kicked out of the ashram by Sheila, the lead in Wild Wild Country, the HBO.
Stop.
Yes. He was an Osho guy. So, I mean, whatever you think of Osho, Krishna Prem was, first of all, his first Western disciple. He showed up at his feet in India and started studying with him. And then he also built the ashram in, I guess, Colorado or Oregon.
Oregon. Yeah.
Yeah, Oregon. Yeah, he bought the land and everything.
Wow.
He's a fascinating character, but he travels around the world teaching meditation. He stays at my place when he's in Toronto, and we FaceTimed with Melissa. Anecdotes.
So great.
Am I the only one who thinks? Okay, I'm now trying to catch up with these. Can you, by the way, save this so we can read this later?
The video. You want me to save the video?
What comedy have you done, Ron? Anything I could see in the UK? Yes, that would be Trailer Park Boys on Netflix. Mel, what acting did you do before DM? That's a good question.
The acting that I did before Dark Matter was on stage and in musicals. So right before I booked this show, I was in the ensemble of the Broadway cast of Les Mis. And it was very, very fun. And while I was auditioning, they wanted to come see the show. And I thought to myself, like, they can't see me in this show. And I absolutely refused, because I was thinking to myself, if they are trying to see me as this girl too, I can't have them seeing me as like a hooker in the 1800s in the story of Les Mis. Like, that's not gonna cut it. But yeah, that's what I was doing before, and it was wonderful. And I miss having a live audience. It's really, having that immediate feedback is something that I do miss, and also like the discipline that it requires to work within a team setting. I love ensemble shows because of that. But when you're doing theater, you refine the storytelling process over the course of 5 weeks to 2 months, sometimes 5 months. And whatever that refinement is, you have to have the discipline to perform that refined version of the story every single time you do it. And that is a whole other practice, whereas in film and television, it's like be present, be present, be present, and react honestly in this moment, whatever it is, and have it be different from the time before that. But in theater, the structure has to look the same, and it has to be in integrity with the original vision from the director from months ago, but also be present so that it's new and it's real every time you touch on it. It's cool. It's cool. I do miss it. It does not pay very well. And I don't miss being broke. I was so broke. I was eating not a lot. I was so skinny, but I was so hungry. I was so hungry. Let's see.
People are talking about doing a Kickstarter crowdfunding to do a movie for Dark Matter.
No.
I'm way back.
There's people here from Venice. Who is
I saw someone from Slovenia.
There's so many people here.
Mantra. There's someone here doing a meditation mantra. Dark Matter, Dark Matter, Dark Matter.
Okay, well.
There's so many questions here. Do you have, can you, I don't know how far back I am. I wish there was a way to tell.
You can scroll.
Are you on a laptop or are you on a phone?
I'm on my phone.
I'm way back at Jedi Master Murphy here. I'm way back. Okay.
Well, I'm at the bottom. So what I think we should do right now, because it has been an hour, and Ron and I could really do a live for about 6 hours. We don't know how or when to stop. So before we wrap up, does anybody have any burning questions for us about anything that we've brought up in this last little bit? It can touch on anything you want. It can be about directing or writing or acting, about Ron, about meditation, anything that feels good. And I'm just gonna, do you have another project coming up?
Who?
You.
The Rookie. You have The Rookie. You have.
I thought you meant you. I was like, what?
No, you would know that. No, I'm doing Jan. I'm doing Jan Arden's comedy Jan, which is friggin' hilarious. And everyone's on lockdown. I mean, it's like, to me, the best thing to be doing now is writing. We're all counting on Joseph